So, welcome, Dr. Pak, to this conversation.
Thank you for having me here.
It is our pleasure. I just want to dive right in. So, we're going to talk about the chaplaincy program today. Can you tell us first a little bit about yourself and the work you do and how you're tied to the program?
I am currently the Senior Director and Associate Professor of Integrative and Field-Based Education at Union. I think I've probably the longest title of anyone here, but who's counting? So my work really is to work with all Master of Divinity students in their field education and field site search. And that is a core component of the MDiv program that I happen to think is the most important part of the MDiv program. And so that's what I do. I shepherd students through selection of the process of getting the field sites. I also teach the integrative seminar while they're in field ed. And there's a lot of vocational discernment, spiritual formation, and counseling that goes on in my work and as I work with students. So, chaplaincy at Union is not new. We didn't have a program called chaplaincy, but many of our alums have gone on to be chaplains, whether they are military chaplains or chaplain in schools or hospitals or prisons. So, this is something that we've been educating toward. However, we haven't really had a formal program called a chaplaincy program. So that in itself, so that's new. This year, this fall, we have launched a chaplaincy program. So, as we think about what's happening now in this pandemic, chaplaincy has become quite a flavor of the month, right? It was a profession that no one really knew what that was about. No one heard about it. They didn't know what they did. And yet all of a sudden with COVID, every week or every other day, some story of chaplains providing spiritual care in this very difficult time when people are dying, especially in New York City. I have chaplain friends who are spending 12-hour days just to care for the staff and patients. They are praying through the glass because they could not be in the room or through the phone. So chaplaincy has been transformed by this pandemic. But I also want to point out that chaplaincy was being transformed even before the pandemic. And we see chaplaincies not just in the traditional contexts like hospitals, military, prison, or higher education, but we see chaplaincy, and it's been happening when we had Occupy Wall Street. Union students went down to Occupy Wall Street, and they became the protest chaplains. So movement chaplains have been a burgeoning field of people who are concerned about justice and who want to provide spiritual care for those people who are fighting for justice. So, whether it's at the Standing Rock protest, whether it's at Charlottesville, whether it's Black Lives Matter movement, protest chaplains or movement chaplains are part of the movement of justice themselves, right? So chaplaincy itself has been transformed. And at Union, because we've always had diverse interests and vocational goals, our students actually are the one that's leading the way. And what we do is we respond to what students' imagination, vocation, direction, desires. We respond to that. And part of this program is a response to many, many students who have gone before, who have become chaplains in unconventional spaces. So I just want to just share one story of one student, my former student, who is now a tech chaplain. And she created a tech chaplains institute because she quickly realized while she was at Union that the technology was creating a lot of anxiety and concerns for people who couldn't make that shift. So she here at Union was working as a tech chaplain to provide empower people who are struggling through use of technology and feeling like they couldn't manage, and they were swimming, they were not swimming, they were sinking under the weight of so much technology and not knowing how to navigate that. And she quickly found that that is actually a spiritual care component, right? So she is now has a chaplaincy chaplaincy institute where she provides this both tech help and spiritual care at the same time. Brilliant, right? But this is what our students do, is that these are they have the imagination, and what we do is to listen, and that's my role. I listen very carefully to what they want, and how do we then support and provide programs to empower them further and to build those competencies so they could even be better chaplains when they leave.
Wow, is all I can say. That sounds so like rich and in depth, and it is so union, and it's so innovative and creative, and it just speaks to the moment, which union always seems to have its hand on the pulse of the moment.
That's right.
And our students and alums are the ones who are carrying that message, that torch, that innovativeness out into the world. So if I'm a student who a prospective student sitting at home watching this video and I'm excited, what can I expect to learn from the program?
Well, first, come to Union and you'll find out. That's what I like to say. But secondly, uh, our chaplaincy program is a integration, careful integration of three components. One is our historic strength of psychology and religion program. Union invented the field in psychology and religion program, and so it's historically been its strength here. So, or we could call it pastoral theology. So that program and its strength with the more new and innovative interreligious engagement program. So it's about, I think, about 8 years ago when we created the interreligious engagement field here. So that program now has Buddhism and interreligious engagement, and Islam and interreligious engagement, and it's the integration of the psych and religion and interreligious engagement courses, because we believe that not only do you need to understand the psychology and the psyche of people as you offer pastoral care or spiritual care, but in this world, in this day and time, you cannot be a chaplain without understanding other religions very deeply, and how that impacts people's worldviews, and how that impacts the way they move through the world, and also the power relationship between different religions as found not just in the United States but globally, and historically as well as in the present. So the third component of that is our of course our value and our commitment of social justice. So the three components are woven in this chaplaincy program, and I think that is pretty unique that that we have here this program that involves those three strands so integratively, and that's why we hope to offer here, and that's what you'll find here in terms of the program.
Well, one last question. What advice or encouragement would you give a prospective student who now says, yes, I love everything I'm hearing. I want to apply, but I'm not sure if I have what it takes or have the right stuff, or maybe I'm not what they're looking for? What would you offer them?
Well, I mean, I would say this to anyone who is thinking about an MDiv program, whether it's in chaplaincy or any other program, is to deeply discern what is your deepest desire. And this is to quote um, Fred Buechner, who is one of my favorite writers, is what is your deepest desire that you have, the profound desires that you have, and what do you see as the greatest needs of the world, and where do they intersect? And that's what I would say. That's where your heart is. That's what you should be looking for, and that's what you should be doing. But it's the discernment of your own desires and the greatest needs of the world. And chaplaincy actually is at the very intersection of that, right? Because you are offering spiritual care where there's suffering in the world.
Yes, definitely. So I just want to say thank you. I know you are a busy person, and this program is going to and continue to grow exponentially. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you guys for watching and continue to tune in. I am Carmen Michael Smith, and this is another edition of Inside Admissions.